cheating housewife's affair with a gold digger turns deadly. You won't believe what happened. The moment I see her phone light up with an unknown number at 2 a.m., I know something isn't right. We've been married for nearly a decade, and late-night calls have never been a thing in our house. My wife, Alice, has always been the one I could count on. My best friend, my confidant, and the mother of our 2 kids. But that one buzzing phone at an ungodly hour shakes my world. I lie in bed, pretending to be asleep, but my mind races with questions. When I casually ask her about the message the next morning, she shrugs it off, saying it was just work stuff. But Alice works as a pediatric nurse, a job that has never before required emergency texts. The uneasy feeling lingers, creeping under my skin. I brush it off, convincing myself I'm just overthinking it. However, things don't stay that simple. Over the next few days, I notice her pulling away. Her laughter sounds forced, and her gaze doesn't meet mine the way it used to. It's like she's there physically but emotionally somewhere far away. This isn't the Alice I married. Every instinct in me tells me to dig deeper, to find out what's really going on, but a part of me is afraid of what I might discover. One night, when she's in the shower, I pick up her phone. My hands are shaking as I scroll through her messages, heart pounding with each name I see. Then, just as I'm about to give up, I find it, a message from D. Can't wait for our weekend. Miss you, babe. My stomach drops. This isn't just a misunderstanding. My wife is having an affair. The words burn into my mind as I stare at the message. Miss you, babe. They don't belong on Alice's phone, certainly not from anyone except me. For a moment, I feel paralyzed, like my body has forgotten how to function. I keep rereading the message, hoping it will somehow change. But it doesn't. It's there, proof of the worst betrayal I could imagine. I feel a wave of anger surge through me, followed by disbelief. I want to storm into the bathroom and confront her, demand an explanation. But what if I'm wrong? What if I'm missing context here? What if D is someone harmless, and I'm about to destroy everything over a misunderstanding? I take a deep breath and decide to keep it together. As much as I want to confront her, I need more information. Confronting her now would just give her a chance to lie, to cover her tracks. So I set the phone back down, carefully, as if touching it any further will somehow taint me. Then I walk into the kitchen, trying to calm my racing thoughts. As she gets out of the shower and joins me in the kitchen, her usual smile seems just a bit too bright, her kiss a little too quick. It feels rehearsed, like she's playing the role of good wife, and not quite getting it right. I watch her carefully, noticing every detail, every flicker of guilt she might try to hide. But she acts as though nothing's wrong, completely unaware that I know. All day, I wrestle with my emotions. I replay every memory of us together, wondering if this has been going on for a while, or if it's recent. Our anniversary is next week, and now I can't even bring myself to think about it without feeling sick. I finally decide to take a step I never thought I'd take. I hire a private investigator. That night, I tell her I'm meeting a friend for drinks, but instead, I meet the investigator in a dimly lit bar across town. He's an older guy, gruff and no-nonsense, with a gaze that seems to see right through me. So, you want to know what she's been up to? He asks, not bothering with small talk. Yeah, I say, swallowing hard. I need to know the truth. He nods, sliding a paper across the table. Fill this out with as much detail as you can. And one last thing, are you ready for what you might find out? The question hangs in the air. I want to say yes, but deep down, I know that nothing could prepare me for this. The following days are torture. The investigator sends me periodic updates, but they're vague, too vague to satisfy the storm of questions swirling in my mind. He's been tracking Alice's movements, noting her comings and goings, yet nothing concrete has come up. Until today. It's Saturday morning, and the kids are at a friend's house for a sleepover, leaving Alice and me alone. She's been glued to her phone since she woke up, smiling at messages she never shares with me. She seems too eager when she tells me she's going shopping with friends later. I play along, acting clueless, but every smile she gives me feels like a dagger. The investigator calls that afternoon, his tone urgent. She's not shopping with friends, he tells me. She just checked into a hotel downtown with someone. I can get you the room number if you want to confront her. But be prepared. This could get ugly. My heart races, pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. A hotel? She's gone from our family home to meet him in a hotel. I'm torn between rage and heartbreak, but a strange, cold clarity settles over me. I'm going to confront her. I thank the investigator and tell him I'll handle it from here. On the drive to the hotel, 1,000 thoughts swirl in my mind. I think about our kids, about the life we built together, about the way I trusted her with everything. I feel the anger welling up again, but I force it down. I need to stay calm, at least until I have answers. When I arrive at the hotel, I park near the entrance and walk in as casually as I can manage, like a man on a simple errand. The front desk clerk doesn't even look up as I make my way to the elevator, my hands shaking as I press the button for the floor the investigator told me. The hallway is eerily quiet as I approach their room. I can hear the faint sound of voices from inside, muffled but unmistakable. I stand there, taking a deep breath, feeling the anger boil over. This is it. This is the moment where everything changes. Without giving myself time to hesitate, I knock on the door. There's a pause, then I hear footsteps, followed by the sound of the door unlocking. When the door opens, Alice is standing there, her face a mixture of shock and horror as she sees me. What are you doing here?" she stammers, her voice barely a whisper. Behind her, I see him, the man I now know as D, standing awkwardly by the bed. I don't even acknowledge him. My eyes are locked on Alice, on the face of the woman I thought I knew. What am I doing here? I ask, my voice low and steady. Maybe I should be asking you that. Alice stares at me, her mouth opening and closing like she's searching for words but finding none. The color drains from her face, and she looks over her shoulder at the man in the room, D. He's standing there, frozen, caught like a thief in the night. The silence is thick, suffocating. Finally, she manages to stammer, I can explain. I feel a bitter laugh rise in my throat. Explain? I echo. Please go ahead. I'd love to hear an explanation that makes this okay. She glances nervously at D, and something clicks in her expression. She straightens, a flash of defiance crossing her face as if she's about to shift the blame. But I'm faster. How long? I demand, my voice colder than I've ever heard it. How long has this been going on, Alice? Her eyes flicker to the man again, then back to me. She swallows hard, looking down at the floor. A few months, she whispers, barely audible. A few months, I repeat, the words hitting me like a punch. The woman I'd spent nearly 10 years with had been lying to me for months, sneaking around with this stranger. I feel rage boiling beneath my skin, but I won't let her see me lose control. Not now. I turn my attention to D, who's finally mustered enough courage to look me in the eyes. He has the nerve to look apologetic, but his sheepish expression only fuels my anger. And you? I say, stepping closer. Did you know she was married? Did you know she had 2 kids at home? He hesitates, then nods. I'm sorry, man. I didn't think it would come to this. Didn't think it would come to this? I echo, incredulous. You didn't think it would come to this when you started seeing a married woman? When you sneaked around behind my back with her? The shame on his face confirms that he knows he's got no excuse, and that, at least, is satisfying. But Alice? She's staring at me, and for the first time, I see her true face, a mixture of guilt, fear, and resentment. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay composed. This is how it's going to go, I say, my voice steady. You're going to pack your things and leave. You'll come back for whatever you want, but only after I'm gone with the kids. Alice's eyes widen. No, please, let's talk about this. Don't just throw it all away. Throw it all away? I say, barely managing to keep my voice even. Alice, you did that the moment you chose him over your family. Without waiting for her reply, I turn on my heel and walk out, each step heavier than the last. The moment I'm out of that room, the gravity of what just happened settles on me, nearly crushing. But I can't break down now, not yet. I make it out to my car and sit there, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white. The image of Alice standing there, exposed and guilty, is burned into my mind. Every instinct I have is screaming at me to drive back there, to make her feel even an ounce of the pain she's inflicted on me. But I force myself to breathe, to think of the kids. They need me calm and rational right now, not a broken wreck. I take a few deep breaths and pull out my phone, scrolling to the investigator's number. It's time to make things official. After a few rings, he picks up. "It's done," I say, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. I confronted her. "I'll need you to gather everything. Texts, photos, whatever you have. I want this affair documented, airtight. I'm filing for divorce." There's a pause on the other end, then a low, understanding reply. "I'll get it to you by tomorrow. Are you okay?" Am I okay? That's the question I keep coming back to, but the answer feels too complicated. I don't know, I admit, but I will be. We end the call, and I just sit there, letting the weight of it all sink in. The life I'd built with Alice, the plans, the memories, the dreams, it all feels like it's crumbling. A part of me still wants to go back, to find a way to fix this, but every rational part of me knows that bridge is burned beyond repair. She made her choice, and now I have to make mine. By the time I get home, it's dark. I walk inside to find the house eerily silent. I head straight to the kids' rooms, taking a moment to watch them sleep, their faces peaceful and innocent. They have no idea that their lives are about to change in ways they never imagined. The next morning, Alice returns home, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She looks at me, waiting for me to say something, but I just stand there, arms crossed, my face a mask. "Please, let's talk," she says, her voice breaking. "Don't do this to us." "Do this to us?" I say, shaking my head in disbelief. "You already did. I'm done talking." She steps closer, desperation in her eyes. I was lonely, okay? I felt like you didn't see me anymore, like you were always too busy. I made a mistake, but that doesn't mean I don't love you." Her words hit a nerve, but I don't let it show. "You think this is about you feeling unseen? You could have come to me, talked to me, done anything other than betray me. You don't get to rewrite this as a cry for attention." She recoils, the reality of her actions settling in. "So what now?" she whispers. I look at her, feeling the finality of the moment. "Now, you pack. I want you out of this house by the end of the week." The raw pain in her eyes is evident, but I can't bring myself to care. She's done enough damage, and I'm determined not to let her cause any more. Alice pleads with me over the next few days, begging for forgiveness, promising that she can change. She tries everything: tears, apologies, and even promises to go to counseling. But each word feels hollow, like an echo in a room stripped bare. Every time she looks at me with those remorseful eyes, I only see betrayal. No amount of words can erase the image of her in that hotel room with him. I steel myself against her pleas, forcing my emotions into a place I can't feel them. I have to stay strong for the kids, who still have no idea why Mom and Dad are acting so strangely. Alice tries to keep up appearances for them, smiling and laughing like everything is normal, but her laughter sounds forced, her smiles strained. And the kids, smart as they are, start to notice. One evening, as I'm putting my son to bed, he looks up at me, his little face filled with concern. "Dad, are you and Mom okay?" he asks, his voice soft. The question hits me like a punch, and for a second, I don't know what to say. How do you explain to a child that his mother broke everything that held the family together? I kneel beside his bed, taking his hand. "Things are complicated right now, buddy," I say, choosing my words carefully. "But I promise you, no matter what happens, we both love you and your sister more than anything." He nods, his eyes filled with a wisdom that breaks my heart. "Are you going away?" he asks, his voice barely above a whisper. The thought alone sends a shiver through me. I shake my head, squeezing his hand. "I'm not going anywhere, okay? I'll always be here." He nods, giving me a small, brave smile, but I can see the worry lingering in his eyes. I tuck him in, trying to hold back my own emotions as I watch him drift off to sleep. Once he's settled, I head to the living room, feeling the weight of it all pressing down on me. That night, Alice tries one last time. She waits until the kids are in bed, then sits beside me, her face streaked with tears. "I know I hurt you," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "But I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." For a brief moment, a flicker of our past flashes in my mind. Our first date, our wedding, the nights we stayed up talking about our dreams. But the ache that follows is too deep to ignore. I look at her, my voice steady but cold. "You should have thought of that before," I say, standing up. "Pack your things. This isn't your home anymore." As she breaks down in tears, I turn and walk away, knowing that this chapter of my life has ended. The next morning is a whirlwind of activity. Alice begins packing her things, moving silently around the house, as if each step could shatter the fragile truce we've created. I avoid her, focusing on getting the kids ready and pretending that everything is normal. It's an impossible act to keep up, but for their sake, I push through it. That afternoon, Alice's parents come to pick her up. They look at me with a mixture of sympathy and discomfort, clearly torn between loyalty to their daughter and understanding that what she's done is indefensible. Her father takes me aside, his expression solemn. "I don't know what to say, son," he begins, his voice heavy. "We didn't raise her too well. We didn't expect any of this." I nod, appreciating his words, though they bring little comfort. "Nothing anyone says will make this easier." "Thank you for understanding," I manage, keeping my voice steady. "I just need to focus on the kids right now." As Alice leaves, she hugs our son and daughter, whispering promises I know she might struggle to keep. She gives me one last, desperate look, but I turn away. I've spent too much time holding on to hope that things could be different. Now, I need to focus on what's left. Once she's gone, the house feels emptier, yet strangely more peaceful. I stand in the living room, taking in the quiet, trying to process everything that's happened. It hits me just how drastically my life has changed in a matter of days. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with is gone, and I'm left to pick up the pieces for me and the kids. In the days that follow, I move forward in survival mode, keeping busy with work and the kids' routines. The investigator sends me the final report, detailing every interaction Alice had with her affair partner. I skim through it, feeling a mix of anger and vindication. The report includes photos, text messages, and phone records, all irrefutable proof of her betrayal. With this evidence, I contact my lawyer to move forward with the divorce proceedings. My lawyer, a tough but compassionate woman named Sarah, reviews everything and nods approvingly. "You're in a strong position," she says, glancing at me over her glasses. "This evidence will make sure custody is in your favor, and it also means you're protected financially. But I need to ask, are you ready for this? Divorces are hard, and with infidelity involved, things can get ugly fast." I hesitate for a second, but the image of Alice in that hotel room with him flashes in my mind, and any doubts vanish. "I'm ready," I say firmly. "I just want to protect my kids and make sure she doesn't get to hurt them too." Sarah nods, understanding. "Then let's get started." As I leave her office, I feel a strange sense of calm settle over me. This isn't the life I planned, but it's the one I have now. I know the road ahead will be challenging, but I'm determined to see it through, for my kids' sake and for my own. The days turn into weeks, and Alice's absence becomes a new normal. I settle into a routine with the kids, focusing on being there for them and creating a sense of stability in our now fractured home. I do my best to fill the gaps, taking on roles I used to rely on Alice for, helping with homework, cooking dinners, planning weekend activities. It's exhausting, but every moment spent with them feels like a reminder of what I'm fighting for. One evening, as I'm cleaning up after dinner, my daughter looks up at me with those big, questioning eyes of hers. "When is Mommy coming back?" she asks softly, her voice filled with innocence that breaks my heart. I kneel beside her, choosing my words carefully. "Mommy needs some time away to think about things," I say gently. "But she loves you very much, and you'll still get to see her." She nods, but I can see the confusion and hurt in her eyes. I want to tell her everything, to explain why our family looks different now, but I know it's too much for a young mind to process. Instead, I hold her close, whispering reassurances that I hope will be enough to ease her worries, if only a little. In the meantime, Alice has been reaching out, texts, emails, even a few calls, though I don't answer them. She's been pleading to talk, to make things right, as she puts it, but there's nothing left to say. I forward each message to my lawyer, letting her handle it. I can't risk any interaction that could stir up the emotions I've been fighting so hard to control. Then one day, as I'm dropping the kids off at school, Alice shows up unexpectedly, standing by the entrance with an anxious look on her face. My son runs to her, wrapping his arms around her, while my daughter follows hesitantly, looking to me for reassurance. Alice catches my eye over their heads, a silent plea in her gaze. I step aside, watching as she hugs the kids, whispering words I can't hear. Part of me wants to shield them, to tell her that her actions don't deserve forgiveness so easily. But another part knows that cutting her out of their lives entirely isn't the answer either. For all her faults, she's still their mother. After a few moments, she stands and walks over to me, her expression a mixture of guilt and desperation. "Please, let me talk to you," she says softly, glancing around to make sure the kids aren't listening. I nod curtly, leading her a few steps away, just out of earshot. "What do you want, Alice?" She bites her lip, as if searching for the right words. "I know I hurt you. Hurt all of us," she says, her voice trembling. "But I want to fix this. I want to be there for the kids, to make up for what I did." I cross my arms, keeping my expression neutral. "You had a chance to think about us before, and you chose him. I'm not going to make it easy for you to waltz back in and pretend like none of this happened." She nods, tears brimming in her eyes. "I know. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need to try, for their sake." I take a deep breath, torn between anger and a begrudging sense of duty. "Then show up for them. Be a good mom when you have them, but don't expect anything from me." She nods, looking defeated, and I turn away, feeling a strange sense of closure, yet knowing the hardest parts are yet to come. After that encounter, we settle into a new arrangement. Alice has agreed to supervised visitation while we finalize the divorce and custody terms. She picks the kids up from school twice a week and spends Saturday mornings with them. It's a bitter pill to swallow, seeing her re-enter their lives so easily after the damage she's done. But I remind myself that they deserve a relationship with their mother, even if she's no longer my wife. The kids seem happier now, but the strain is still there, especially with my son, who is quick to pick up on tension. He asks more questions, always skirting around the truth he senses but doesn't understand. It's exhausting, this constant balancing act of protecting them from the full truth and being honest enough to help them adjust. One Saturday, as I'm picking them up after their morning with Alice, my son looks up at me from the back seat. "Dad, why don't you and Mom spend time together anymore?" he asks, his voice small, his eyes wide with confusion. I grip the steering wheel, taking a deep breath. "It's complicated, buddy," I say, trying to find the right words. "Sometimes, grown-ups have problems they can't solve together. But that doesn't mean we don't love you and your sister with all our hearts." He nods, quiet for a moment, then asks, "Does that mean you don't love each other anymore?" The question hangs in the air, heavy and painful. I glance at him in the rearview mirror, seeing the mix of fear and curiosity in his gaze. How do I answer that? I can't tell him the full story, but I can't lie to him either. Sometimes, things happen that make it hard for people to stay together, I say slowly. But love isn't always enough to fix everything. What matters is that we both love you and your sister more than anything else. He nods again, a bit more satisfied with this answer, and turns to look out the window. I can only hope he understands, in his own way. In the coming weeks, the divorce moves forward, and I start to see signs that Alice's remorse might actually be genuine. She attends every visit with the kids, always on time, always trying to be as present as she can. I watch from a distance, wary of her intentions, yet part of me wants to believe she's trying for them. She's lost my trust, but perhaps one day she can earn theirs back. Then, one night, I get a message from her. "Please, can we talk? Just once. Not about the kids. About us. The words make me pause. There's a part of me that wants to ignore it, to let her feel the pain of being cut off completely. But another part, the part that remembers the life we built together, feels a need for closure. I reply simply, tomorrow, at noon. Cafe by the park. Asterisk. The next day, I arrive at the cafe early, my mind spinning with what I want to say. I remind myself that this meeting is for me, to close the door on the past and move forward without her shadow haunting my steps. When she arrives, she looks hesitant, remorse etched into her features. She sits across from me, and for a moment, we just look at each other, both feeling the weight of what's been lost. "Thank you for meeting me," she says softly, her voice tinged with regret. "Why am I here, Alice?" I ask, keeping my tone steady. She sighs, her eyes dropping to her hands. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know. I'm sorry. I know that sounds hollow after everything, but I truly am." I nod, feeling a strange sense of relief hearing those words. "Sorry doesn't fix what you broke, Alice. It doesn't change the fact that you chose to betray me and our family." She swallows, tears shining in her eyes. "I know, and I regret it every day. I know I've lost you, but I don't want to lose myself too." I take a deep breath, nodding as I absorb her words. "Then maybe you should focus on finding yourself again. I'll focus on rebuilding what's left of my life. And our kids, they'll have us both, but not together." We sit in silence, both knowing this is the last time we'll sit across from each other like this. When I finally stand to leave, there's a sense of finality, a bittersweet closure that I hadn't thought possible. Leaving the cafe, I feel an odd sense of weight lifting off my shoulders. This isn't the ending I would have chosen for our story, but at least it's an ending. For the first time since I found out about her affair, I feel like I can finally breathe. Over the next few weeks, I focus on building a new life for myself and the kids. I throw myself into work and begin to reconnect with friends I'd lost touch with over the years. Little by little, life starts to regain a sense of normalcy, even if that normalcy is different from before. The kids seem to be adjusting, and I can tell they're comforted by the routines we're creating together. But the quiet evenings still get to me. I'll put the kids to bed, and then it's just me, alone with my thoughts. It's in these quiet moments that I feel the pain of it all, the raw sting of betrayal that sometimes makes it hard to breathe. But I remind myself that I'm moving forward, one step at a time. And each day, the ache lessens just a bit. Then, one Friday evening, I'm picking up the kids from Alice's when my son runs up to me with a flyer in his hand. "Dad, look," he says, excitement shining in his eyes. "There's a father-son camping trip next weekend. Can we go?" I take the flyer from him, seeing the words "Father-Son Weekend Adventure" printed in bold letters. It's hosted by a nearby park, with activities like fishing, hiking, and even a campfire night. I can see how much it means to him, and the thought of spending that time together feels like a gift. "Of course, buddy," I say, ruffling his hair. "Let's do it." The next week, I prepare for our camping trip, gathering supplies and planning our route. My son is thrilled, helping me pack the tent and sleeping bags. On the drive to the campsite, he talks nonstop about all the things he wants to do. Catch the biggest fish, roast marshmallows, tell ghost stories. I listen with a smile, grateful for this chance to make new memories with him. When we arrive, we set up our tent and join the other fathers and sons around a large campfire. The sky darkens, stars twinkling above us, and I feel a sense of peace that's been missing for a long time. As we sit by the fire, sharing stories and laughter, I realize that this is what life is about. Moments like these, small and precious, shared with the people who matter most. That night, as we lie in the tent, my son snuggled close in his sleeping bag. He whispers, "Dad, this is the best weekend ever." I smile, my heart swelling. "I'm glad, buddy." "Me too." In the dark, I let myself feel the full weight of his words, and for the first time, I feel like maybe, just maybe, I'm healing. Maybe I'm becoming the dad, the man I always wanted to be. And maybe that's enough. The camping trip marks a turning point, a shift in both my heart and my focus. I come back with a newfound sense of purpose, determined to create more experiences like that for the kids. Weekends become an adventure. Whether we're going for hikes, exploring new parks, or even just baking cookies together at home, each day feels like a step toward rebuilding our lives, piece by piece. As I dive into this new routine, I find myself spending less time worrying about Alice and more time looking forward to the future. The divorce proceedings continue, and while there's tension, it's manageable. Alice is respectful of the boundaries I've set, and though she's visibly struggling, I can see her trying, if only for the kids. And as painful as her betrayal was, I realize that my own healing doesn't depend on her suffering. Letting go of that anger, bit by bit, feels like taking my life back. One afternoon, I get a call from my lawyer, Sarah. Her tone is serious, but there's a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "I just wanted to let you know," she says, "the court ruled in your favor for primary custody. Alice will have visitation rights, but you're officially their primary guardian." The news hits me like a wave. Relief, joy, and even a sense of justice course through me. I thank Sarah and end the call, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the reassurance that the kids will have a stable home. This outcome gives me the clarity I need to focus on being the best father I can be. Later that evening, as I'm making dinner, my son comes up to me, hugging me around the waist. "Dad, I'm glad you're with us all the time now," he says, his voice muffled against my shirt. I hug him back, my heart swelling. "Me too, buddy. Me too." As the weeks turn into months, I start to feel like myself again. I'm more present, more engaged, and even start picking up old hobbies, running, reading, and reconnecting with friends. One night, I go out with a couple of old friends who insist on helping me get back out there, joking that it's time to rejoin the world. We laugh and reminisce, and for the first time, I actually enjoy myself without the constant weight of what's happened. Toward the end of the night, one of my friends brings up something unexpected. "Listen, man," he says, looking me squarely in the eyes. "We've all seen what you went through, and I don't know if you're ready yet, but when you are, just remember, there are still good people out there." The thought lingers in my mind long after I return home. I can't imagine dating again, much less trusting someone with my heart. But his words plant a small seed of hope. I don't have to know what's next or when I'll be ready. I just have to trust that maybe, one day, there will be room for something more. As I lie in bed that night, a quiet sense of peace settles over me. The future is uncertain, but for the first time, that feels like an opportunity rather than a burden. Life gradually settles into a rhythm, a new kind of normal. With primary custody secured, I feel a greater sense of control over our lives. The kids and I find joy in small routines, movie nights with popcorn, early morning pancake sundaes, bike rides to the nearby park. Little by little, we're carving out our own version of happiness. Alice still sees the kids on weekends, and though it's hard to let them go, I've learned to separate my own feelings from theirs. They need time with her, and I won't let my hurt rob them of that. But our interactions are strictly limited to logistics. I've built a wall between us that I don't intend to lower, and I can tell she senses it too. Each time she picks up or drops off the kids, there's a lingering sadness in her eyes. She starts to realize what her choices have cost, but by then, it's too late. Then one day, while I'm helping my daughter with a school project, I receive a message from an old friend, Kate. We went to college together and drifted apart over the years, both caught up in our own lives. But the message is warm, genuine, a simple "Hey, how are things?" That's somehow both casual and thoughtful. I hesitate before replying, feeling an unexpected swirl of nerves. But then I type back, "Hey, it's been too long. Things are different now, but I'm okay. How about you?" Her response is quick, almost as if she'd been waiting for it. We fall into a natural conversation, catching up on the lost years, sharing stories, and laughing about our college antics. Talking to her feels refreshing, like a glimpse into a life outside the struggles I've been facing. For the first time, I let myself feel a spark of excitement that I haven't felt in years. Over the next few weeks, Kate and I continue texting. We share stories about work, our kids, our struggles and triumphs. She's gone through a rough divorce herself, so there's a shared understanding between us, a respect for the wounds we each carry. There's no pressure, no rush, just two friends reconnecting, both a little older and a little wiser. Then, one Saturday afternoon, she asks, "How about coffee sometime?" Nothing big, just to catch up in person. No expectations. The invitation catches me off guard, but I can't deny that I'm intrigued. Part of me hesitates, wondering if it's too soon, if I'm ready to open that door. But another part, The part that's slowly healing, that's daring to hope, wants to say yes. Sure, I reply, feeling a strange mix of excitement and nerves. I'd like that. We make plans for the following weekend, and as the day approaches, I find myself feeling like a teenager again, preparing for a date with an old friend. I remind myself that it's just coffee, that there's no pressure to be anything other than who I am now. Yet a part of me wonders if this could be the start of something new, something that I thought was no longer possible. When the day arrives, I drop the kids off with Alice and head to the cafe. Kate is already there, sitting by the window, looking just like I remember, but with a quiet strength in her eyes that wasn't there before. She waves when she sees me, smiling warmly, and I feel a surge of gratitude for the second chances life sometimes offers when we least expect them. We talk easily, falling into conversation as though no time has passed. She shares stories about her own challenges and victories, and I find myself opening up in ways I haven't in a long time. By the end of our coffee, I feel lighter, more hopeful, like maybe there's room in my life for more than just survival. As we part ways, she smiles, a soft look of understanding in her eyes. Let's do this again sometime? Yeah, I reply, smiling back. I'd like that. After that coffee with Kate, something shifts in me. It's like a door that had been sealed shut is now cracked open, letting in just enough light to remind me of what life could feel like outside of pain and betrayal. We start meeting every so often, sometimes for coffee, other times for a walk in the park. Each time, I feel more at ease, more like the person I was before everything went sideways. There's no rush between us, no expectations. It's a slow, cautious journey, but I'm grateful for it. Kate understands what it's like to rebuild after a broken marriage, and that shared experience allows us to connect without having to explain the scars we each carry. And although neither of us explicitly says it, we both know we're helping each other heal. The kids notice her name popping up in conversation, and soon, they're asking about her. "Who's Kate, Dad?" my daughter asks one evening as I'm tucking her into bed. "She's a friend," I tell her, keeping it simple. "We knew each other a long time ago and just started talking again." "Do you like her?" she asks, with all the blunt curiosity that only a child can muster. I chuckle, ruffling her hair. "Yeah, I do. She's kind, and she's been through some tough times too. Maybe we can meet her," she suggests, her face lighting up with excitement. Her words catch me off guard, but I consider it. Introducing Kate to the kids feels like a big step, one I hadn't even fully considered. I decide to give it time, to see where things go naturally. As the weeks go by, Alice begins to sense the change in me. I can tell she's noticed my lighter mood, my newfound calm. She doesn't say anything, but there's an unmistakable sadness in her gaze whenever she picks up or drops off the kids. A few times, she even tries to start a deeper conversation, asking me if I'm really okay, if there's any chance we could find forgiveness. But each time, I hold firm, keeping the boundaries in place. Whatever I needed from Alice, I'd already let go of. There's no point in opening old wounds. Then, one Saturday, I'm spending time with Kate when she brings up an idea that takes me by surprise. "What if we took the kids to the park together?" she suggests, her tone light and casual. I pause, considering the idea. It's a big step, one that feels both exciting and daunting. "Are you sure you're ready for that?" I ask. She nods, smiling warmly. "I think it would be good for all of us. No pressure, just a day in the park. Let them see that we're friends, that we're both moving forward." Her words resonate with me. Maybe she's right. Maybe showing the kids that I'm happy, that I'm healing, could be the best way to help them move forward too. So the following weekend, we plan a simple picnic at the park. I explain to the kids that my friend Kate will be joining us, keeping the introduction light. They're curious but excited, and as we pack the car with snacks and games, I feel a mix of nerves and anticipation. When we arrive at the park, Kate is already there, a basket in hand and a warm smile on her face. The kids take to her immediately, and before long, they're running around, laughing and playing games as if she's always been part of our lives. Watching them together, I feel a sense of peace that I haven't felt in a long time. As the day goes on, Kate and I talk, laugh, and share stories, watching the kids chase each other through the grass. For the first time since my marriage fell apart, I feel like I'm truly living again, embracing this new chapter without fear. When it's time to leave, the kids beg to see Kate again, and she promises them another outing soon. As we part ways, she looks at me, her eyes filled with the same quiet understanding that's become a comfort to me. "Thank you," she says softly, "for letting me be part of this." I smile, feeling gratitude that words can't capture. "No, thank you," I reply, "for reminding me that there's still so much to look forward to." In the weeks that follow, Kate becomes a natural part of our lives. We plan more outings together with the kids, picnics, trips to the zoo, even a small backyard barbecue. She never oversteps, always letting the kids come to her and never forcing anything. It's like she knows instinctively how to put them at ease, and soon enough, they're asking about her almost daily, excited for every chance to see her. My son, who's usually shy around new people, starts to open up to her in a way that surprises me. He tells her about his favorite dinosaur, his dreams of becoming an astronaut, and even shares the art projects he's been working on in school. Watching their bond form fills me with a warmth I haven't felt in so long, a reminder that maybe happiness isn't as out of reach as I once thought. One evening, after the kids are asleep, Kate and I sit on the porch, talking under the stars. I feel a calmness around her that's hard to describe, like all the walls I'd put up around myself are slowly crumbling. "Can I ask you something?" she says, her voice soft, almost hesitant. "Of course," I reply, glancing over at her. Have you forgiven Alice?" Her question catches me off guard, but there's no judgment in her gaze, just genuine curiosity. I take a deep breath, thinking about her question. It's something I've wrestled with countless times, turning it over in my mind as I try to make sense of everything that happened. Honestly, I don't know if forgiveness is the right word. I say slowly. I think I've accepted what happened. I understand that we can't go back, that what we had is gone. But I also know that holding on to anger forever will only hurt me and the kids. So, maybe that's my version of forgiveness. Letting go. She nods, her expression thoughtful. "That's fair," she says, a hint of admiration in her voice. "I think that's the most anyone could hope for after something like this." I look at her, feeling a sense of gratitude that goes deeper than words. She's given me the gift of seeing beyond my pain, of believing that maybe life has something more in store for me. We sit in silence for a while, the stars twinkling above us, the gentle sounds of the night filling the air. For the first time in years, I feel at peace with where I am, with who I'm becoming. It's a strange, beautiful feeling, like stepping out into the sunlight after a long, dark night. As we say our goodbyes and she heads home, I find myself looking forward to tomorrow, and for once, I'm not haunted by the shadows of the past. The next morning, I wake up to a message from Alice. She asks if she can come by to talk. I hesitate, part of me wanting to ignore it, to keep the distance we've carefully maintained. But another part, the one that's found peace and acceptance, knows this conversation might be necessary. Later that day, Alice arrives, looking uncertain, almost fragile. We sit in the living room, an uncomfortable silence stretching between us before she finally speaks. "I wanted to say, I'm sorry," she begins, her voice barely a whisper. "I know that doesn't change anything, but I've had time to realize what I lost. And it was all because of my choices." I nod, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. "I know, Alice. I've accepted it." She looks at me, surprised by my calmness. "You don't hate me?" I sigh, shaking my head. "No, Alice, I don't. I spent too much time hating you, and it only hurt me. I've moved on. I'm focusing on being the best father I can be. That's what matters now." She looks down, nodding. "I'm glad you found some peace. And for what it's worth, I'm truly sorry." With those words, I feel a sense of closure settle over me, like a chapter of my life has finally been written, its last page turned. As Alice leaves, I realize that I've finally released the last pieces of the pain I'd been holding on to. I'm ready to embrace what lies ahead. With Alice's apology and our conversation behind me, it truly feels like I can finally close the book on that part of my life. I didn't realize how much I needed that last bit of closure until it happened. It's as though I'd been carrying a weight around, one that I had gotten used to but never wanted. Now, with it gone, I feel lighter, free to fully step into the life I'm building with my kids and, perhaps, with Kate. In the weeks that follow, Kate and I continue seeing each other, allowing our relationship to evolve naturally. The kids adore her, and she's careful to respect the boundaries of being my friend and, potentially, something more. It's a delicate balance, but she manages it with grace and empathy. We haven't labeled anything, and there's no rush, but there's an unspoken understanding that what we're building together is meaningful and lasting. Then one sunny Saturday afternoon, we all head to the park, me, the kids, and Kate, for a picnic. The kids run off to play, leaving Kate and me to sit on the blanket, enjoying the calmness of the day. She leans her head on my shoulder, and I realize just how much peace she's brought into my life, how much warmth she's restored. I have to thank you, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. For what? She asks, looking up at me with a soft smile. For reminding me that life can be good again, that even after everything, there's still room for joy, I say, feeling the words deeply. She smiles, squeezing my hand. You don't need to thank me for that. You did that on your own, piece by piece. In that moment, I know that whatever the future holds, I'm ready for it. The hurt, the betrayal, the anger, all of it has shaped me, but it doesn't define me. I'm more than the man who was left broken by infidelity. I'm a father, a friend, and maybe, someday, a partner again. The kids come running back, out of breath and laughing, their faces flushed from playing. My son tackles me with a hug, while my daughter throws her arms around Kate, who lifts her up, both of them giggling. Looking at them all, I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude, of purpose. This is what life is about, the laughter, the healing, the chance to start over. I know the road hasn't been easy, and there will still be challenges ahead. But as I sit here, surrounded by the people who mean the most to me, I know one thing for sure. I'm ready. As we pack up and head home, I feel a deep sense of contentment, a belief that maybe, just maybe, the best chapters of my life are still being written. Thank you for following along on this journey. Have you experienced a similar story, or one that changed you in unexpected ways? Share your thoughts below, and remember, no matter how hard it gets, healing and happiness are always within reach. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one.